Hey YouTube, Harry once again with another repair video for our channel. Hope you guys like this one. This is going to be very interesting. Might be a little bit longer, depends on how it goes. But today we are working on an idless chest freezer. And the problem with this one is the compressor is not working. It's not starting. This one model number is IF50CM23NW, and this one runs on R600 refrigerant. Now we are going to be replacing the compressor, but we're going to be putting a regular 134A compressor. I personally don't like these because they are flammable. As you can see, the warning right here, it's highly flammable. So you guys want to pay attention if you guys are going to work on these type of refrigerators. I am venting this one outside in my driveway. So if you do it inside, there's a couple extra steps you need to do. But since we're doing it outside, it's not going to be that big of a problem. But as always, you do want to be careful because this can be flammable. That's one of the reasons why we're replacing it with the 134A, because I don't like R600. So with that said, there's a couple things. Normally when you do a compressor, we always replace the filter dryer, which in this case I am going to replace. I'm going to replace the compressor. I'm going to add a service port to it, but I am not going to replace the capillary tube. And the reason for that is that this evaporator on this refrigerator or freezer is inside the wall, so there is no way without ripping everything up for me to get to that replace that capillary tube. So it's not going to last as long as it normally would if I would replace the capillary tube, for those that are saying, hey, you didn't replace the capillary tube. But you know, this is mine, so it's not going to be a problem. So we're going to be replacing the compressor and show you how to do that. Typically it's going to be the same process as others, but you do want to be a little bit more cautious with this one because we are going to be brazing, and that's one of the reasons why we're doing it outside. So with that said, first thing I want to do is we're going to go ahead and cut the lines. And like I said, this is R600, so there's no problem as far as venting outside. So we're going to cut the lines here and here, and we're going to let it vent out. To be honest with you, I don't know if this has any refrigerant in it, but actually I'm going to go ahead and pre-sand it. That way, when we do put in the new compressor, it's already sanded, and there's no, we minimize the risk of any particles or anything falling inside or getting trapped inside. So just go ahead and sand it. That one. And if you notice, this end is going to be steel, so when we brace this side, we will have to do the flux because it is steel. So grab your cutter, obviously, and we're gonna go ahead and cut the lines. We have to move it a little bit so that the cutter is able to rotate. And just cut it. Okay, so that's one. And do the other side. Now you want to make sure that you vent this correctly, because like I said, this is highly flammable. So if I was to light a match here, this would, it's like propane basically. It's propane based or propane type. So you do want to make sure that you get all this refrigerant out. So I'm going to show you a trick of what we're going to do to make sure we get this all out. So that takes care of this. So this is the low side. It's going to be your high side. Alrighty. Alright, with the 10 millimeter screw, you're going to go ahead and take off these bolts from here. And then you can remove it with the Phillips screwdriver line right here. And you'll be able to remove your compressor out. So I'm not showing off camera because obviously you guys know how to do that. And you guys can figure that out. Well, you do want to remove those. And go ahead and remove that compressor. So let me remove that compressor and okay, now that we got our screws out and release the cable, pull it to the side, lift, and set aside. Okay. Now always be careful with the oil so it doesn't spill. Now you want to leave this out like this for a while to get all or most of the refrigerant that's stuck in the system. But what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and blow it out as well to help it out, and that way it kind of clears any oil from this compressor that may have been stuck in the system. So let me get our stuff ready and show you how we're going to do that. Alrighty, so what you want to do is hook up your nitrogen tank here, and today we're going to be working with Eli Tech gauges that Eli Tech sent us, and there we have a Robinair process tube adapter so that we're using. So what you do is you put it in your tube and hook up your gauges through it, and then you're able to run nitrogen through it. See, so we're running nitrogen through it, and it's going to come in out the other side. A couple of reasons. One, you want to clean your system. This isn't going to really clean your system, but it's going to help, and you get that R600, you know, refrigerant that might be stuck in the system. And you want to do that before cutting the capillary tube. That way it rotates to the both high and low side, and just run it for a minute or so just to get as much as you can. And obviously we're venting it out, so that's going to help a lot. All right, so I'm going to let it run for a few minutes, and then we're going to go ahead and replace that capillary tube, not capillary tube, the filter dryer, and braze in the new compressor. So hang on. Alrighty, so now we want to move over to our capillary filter dryer. Once again, I want to sand it first, just so it doesn't get all those particles at the end. You gotta sand it anyways. Might as well do it now. And I'm gonna sand it a little bit better off camera, just to not make this video longer than it needs to. And grab your tube cutter and just go ahead and cut as close to the filter dryer as you can. This one, just the position that it is, it's a little bit tighter, but at the same time it has a little bit more room. But we do want to be careful we don't rip this tube coming out. Okay, that out. This one has capillary kind of wrapped, so I'll take it off, but be careful you don't damage it. And for now, I'm going to use these just to break it apart. And it didn't cut restrict in here, so we're good. And go ahead and break this off, cut it off. It's just always be careful with your cat tube as to not damage it. Alrighty. Okay, now that we got that capillary removed, the filter dryer, I'm sorry, I keep saying capillary because we're working on the capillary. Go ahead and sand this down. Okay, and you want to sand down your new one as well. Both ends. Alrighty. Now we're going to go ahead and make the cuts in here to go ahead and install here and get our flux and get our acetylene tank. So let me get that and we'll be right back. Okay, very important before you braze either the process tube on the compressor or on these filter dryers that have the port, you always want to remove the little and I lost the name, I'm sorry, but you want to remove it because it has little O-rings, and with the heat they will melt and tend to leak. So make sure you remove it, set it aside. Now you want to put your filter dryer in place. A lot of these dryers, they will have an arrow pointing in which way the flow comes out, but generally speaking, if you use the one with the process tube in it, this is going to be the out, and this side, the one with one, is going to be for the capillary. So, but like I said, if you use these, it's easy. If you use the one with just the two, then make sure you follow the arrow. Some of them will be either way, but in this case, you know, it goes this way. So let me put it in place and go ahead and continue. Okay, and as I mentioned before, you want to use some flux whenever you're brazing metal with copper, okay, or steel. So let me go ahead and put that on, and you can be generous if you want, and this is gonna help. All right, so let's get started. Alrighty, so we got our brazes in. See, and it looks really good. It looks good. Alrighty, so now let's get our compressor in. Alrighty, so here's the compressor we're going to be installing. It's a Panasonic, and we're going to put the process tube here and put it in. So let me braze that and put the compressor in to show you what it looks like. Don't forget, you always want to sand these. That way it gets a better fitting for you. Alrighty, give me a second. Alright, also I personally like to braze the process tube outside of the refrigerator, freezer in this case. That way it gives me plenty of room to look at it. And that way we're not have any metal or anything on the way. So let me get that brazed and we'll get back to it. Alrighty, so now we got our compressor brazed in, and we're just gonna wait for it to cool down a little bit, and we're gonna go ahead and pressure check it. So we're going to pressure check it with our nitrogen, and then we'll go ahead and fill it up with refrigerant if everything tests good. Now, I did want to mention, as I did before, this is R600, and it tells you the weight of the refrigerant for us to weigh it in with R600, but because we're using R134, it's not going to be the same amount of refrigerant in it, so we're going to have to do it by pressure and just test it and make sure everything is looking good, because it doesn't use the same amount. R600 uses less as compared to R134A, which is what we're using here. So let's go ahead and pressure check it, and we'll go from there. All right, so to pressure check it, once again, we hook it up to our nitrogen tank and hook up our low side blue to the compressor. Turn on our Eli Tech and turn it on. Oh, also, you might want to put the cap back on. I heard a leak, but it was the cap that was off. So we're gonna put this up to, I don't know if you can see the gauge. So we got 67 psi. I think I'm running low on nitrogen. Or let me see. Let me check to see if I'm low or just closed. So give me a sec. All right, so I'm actually out of nitrogen. So I was only able to get it up to about 66 psi. So we can't really do a good pressure check with that, but we'll try see what it does, because there is nitrogen in the system. So let's go ahead and check. And what I use is Cal Blue leak detector soap. And what we're looking is for bubbles. Which we have none. 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 So we should be good. So we're gonna go ahead and pour a vacuum on this and go ahead and go forward with the charging, and we'll see what it does there. Actually, I have a leak detector from Eli Tech as well. This one I purchased myself, but we're gonna go ahead and check it once we charge it as well with this one. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. Pull the vacuum and see what it does. Alrighty. Also, don't forget, sometimes I forget, put your little valves back into the tubes. Sometimes you're in a hurry and you forget and you pull a vacuum like this, and then you got to start all over again. So go ahead and do that right now, and we'll go ahead and pull a vacuum and show you what it looks like. Alrighty, so now we're ready to pull the vacuum. So you hook up your low side to your process tube. Since I have a high side at the filter dryer, hook up the red to the high side and the charging yellow to the vacuum pump. And we're gonna go ahead and turn it on. We're gonna turn on our gauges. And open it up. go. I do apologize. I don't know if you can see it there. And we're going to let this one run for about 30 minutes. So I have to wait. You guys will not, thanks to the magic of editing. And we'll be right back. But before I go to the next segment, I want to remind you, if you find any value with these videos that I'm making, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, share these videos with somebody. The whole point of this is to save you guys a little bit of money or a lot of money, and you can do this yourself if you take the proper precautions. And we'll see you in a bit. Alrighty, so we're done pulling the vacuum, and our gauge is negative 14, and so we're still hooked up right here. So as like I said before, I am going to charge with pressures, but I am going to kind of weigh it in just to see how much is actually going in there. If you look at the tag right here, it says that it takes, or it used to take, because I changed the compressor, but it takes R600 1.76 ounces. So we're gonna take the temperature with the probe and see what it's doing and let it sit. So this next part is gonna happen over the next couple hours. You won't have to wait, but just want to let you know what I'm doing. Alrighty, give me a second, I'll be right back. Okay, so I got my tank hooked up, and I am using Elitech digital gauge, scale, and we're going to go ahead and zero it out. And what I'm going to do is open it up a little bit. Open it up here, and what I'm going to do is crack open this one just to get any air out that was in the tube, and that should be it. Zero it out again, and I moved it inside so you should be able to see the pressures. So it says negative 14, high side says negative 12. So now we're going to just start loading it, and we're doing it in the vapor to the low side. I'm going to put about 2 ounces in here. 1.6. Alrighty. Pressure is now on. I heard it, so alright, so I'm using my Klein digital meter, but it has a probe for temperature. So we're going to go ahead and put this inside. And as you can see, this does not have any fan or anything like that, so it is going to take a while for it to start registering some temperature, but we're going to go ahead and put it in. That way we can see where it's at. So it's about 69 degrees, 67. But what I do want you to notice, and like I said, we are going to do it by pressures, and let's see if we can see it. We're about -9 right now with 2 ounces in, so we're gonna do maybe another ounce, maybe. So we're at about 3 ounces. And my pressure reads, see how it's coming down? So we want to get out of that vacuum. So we're still at about -2. So let's let it sit like that for, oh, let's see what the temperature is doing on this end. And it's still in the 69. So I'm gonna let it sit for a bit and see what it does. Okay, so we're still working on this one, but I did want you to notice, and this is how this gauge is gonna help us with the correct refrigerant. Right now I'm at -4 psi. It says that the evaporator is -27.4, but this is what I'm interested on the high side. See how it's 109 right here, and then it says condenser temperature is 92.5. I need that temperature to be at about 140, 130, 150 area. So anywhere between 130 to 150. So right now we're at about 92.5. So we still got a ways to go, and it's still in -4. So we got about 3 ounces in. Let's add a little bit more, about 1/2 ounce. .6, and we're going to start seeing that. See how that number is jumping. 95.5, 96. The PSI is at 0 on the low side, 117 on the high side. So let's check up on it in a few minutes and see how it's doing. Like I said, we're still at about 69, but there's no fan circulating the freezer temperature. So this is almost kind of useless in the fact that it's going to take a while before this drops to the right temperature. But the PSI and temperature over here is what we're going to, it's going to help us out a lot. Alrighty, so it's been about an hour, and temperature now reads about 30-ish. But I did want to show you, well actually we're going to be putting in a water bottle to see how long it takes to freeze. That's going to be the best thermometer that I have. But wanted to show you something. So like I said, the evaporator is down here, and it's getting really, really cold down here. So that's where I'm putting the probe at, because I want it to read the lower temperature down there. Okay, so it's fluctuating a little bit because of where the probe actually sits. And like I said, we're about 3.6 ounces, and I'm still about -8, and the evaporator or the condenser temperature is about 102. So we can add a little bit more refrigerant. So we're going to put it up to about 4. This is 4.4. Like I said, this is mainly to tell me how much refrigerant I'm putting in it, so I know how much I actually put in it, and then I'm just gonna write it down in here so I know how much it takes. See, now we're at about -3 and about 112, and I'm sorry, the PSI is at 112. The temperature is about 94.5. And once again, we want to get that up to the 120, 130 temperature. The other thing, and I touched the inside, obviously you guys can't touch because I'm recording, but there's a hotline and it feels pretty nice and warm, and this one's fresh. But as I said, the temperature is dropping inside, so we're looking pretty good. Looking pretty good. Ready? 4.6. I'm gonna add a little bit more. Get it up to 5 ounces. And that should be good at about 5 ounces. See, 5 ounces. We're at 0 psi. But we need to let it stabilize a little bit. Temperature 99.5. Hope you're liking this video. Hope it helps a lot. Once again, we did get this manifold from Eli Tech. Thank you, Eli Tech. We really appreciate it. It's helping us do a couple of videos in a different perspective, and it's helping us a lot. And in this type of situations where you don't know how much to put in, it's actually kind of good, to have this type of setup. So the temperature right now is about 100. See? So we should be good. We'll check up on it in a little while and see how it's going. Alrighty, so it's the next day. It's been not 24 hours, but as you can see, our thermometer or probe is at 0 degrees, and the compressor right now, it's off, but you can see our pressures are equalized pretty much. It's at 6 and 10, so it's not completely equalized, but it's pretty much stable. Compressor is not running, and like I said, the temperature probe shows 0, and you can feel the coolness. You can see the ice all around, frost around the evaporator coils, and our water is frozen. So overall, this refrigerator or freezer is done, and you can see right now that I opened, thermometer went up, and it's gonna start going down as the temperature comes down. So pretty much we're good to go. I do know that I had mentioned that I wanted this temperature to go up into the 120s, 130, 150. But one of the things is that we are converting it to 134A from R600, because normally we would have switched out the capillary tube, but this is inside. We can't get to it, so we pretty much have to leave it. And at this point, we're good. I think we added 5 ounces of refrigerant to it. So, that's pretty much it. I mean, the pressures were good yesterday. It never really came out. Well, it did come out of 0. It did come up to about 0 or 1 psi and then fluctuated. But I believe it's because of the capillary, especially when I'm getting the temperatures. And see right now, it's still coming down, so it's at 9. Remember, this one don't have fans to blow the air, so it's going to be a little bit different. But overall, it's a success. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comment section. Any questions, concerns, comments, good or bad, go ahead and leave them. If you like the video and you want to see more videos like this, give it a like, share it, and we'll keep working on these and see how they go. Alrighty, this is gonna be it. Once again, this was idless chest freezer, standalone chest freezer, and we replaced the filter dryer and we replaced the compressor on it. Alright guys, hope you guys like it. If you guys find any value in these videos, don't forget to subscribe if it's the first time here, and if you have subscribed, thank you for subscribing. See you next time. Bye.